You've tuned into The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lain. Gardening, it can be challenging, but with these simple insider tips, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, let's tune into today's Mountain Gardener with Ken and Lisa. I've had a couple back surgeries and some injections and all that stuff, that lower back, L4, L5, S5, L5, S1, all that sciatica stuff. I mean, everyone goes, "Oh, Ken, you're so lucky. You get to dance around and play with the flowers." I'm actually a dirt dealer. And so plants come with roots, and they're heavy. And so I've kind of modified over the years where most of my gardening is done in raised beds that you can sit down on the lip, just lean in and just easier to get to, and containers, because they're just so easy to dig in. And then they're elevated. I mean, these are big pots, not little tiny things that dry out in an afternoon. I'm talking about large volumes of soil, because it's easier for me to get into and easier to garden. And I can travel, to go visit grandkids. And if something fails, volume of soil is a sponge. It holds moisture and food for that plant. And then an insider tip: I turn all of my containers, every one of them, into self-watering pots, even if they're not defined as self-watering. And here's how you do it. It's super, super easy. So you take a container. I like 14-inch or bigger. I've got some that are 3 feet across. I mean, they're huge. It's a container, but it's ginormous. And it's growing trees or big shrubs or a vine, or flowers, some of the smaller things. And so, but minimum is kind of 14-inch, kind of that, I don't know, it's as wide as you are and kind of as deep. And the bigger the pot, the more the soil, the easier it is to garden in. What I'll do is I'll take that new container and I'll fill it completely with Water's potting soil. So a potting soil is mainly peat moss, and potting soil is a challenge. It needs to stay moist, but yet breathe and dry out. So this is a razor's edge in a dry climate. So we make our own soils. It's organic, and we've scientifically tested the different ones. This is the recipe. This is the mix that grows the best for containers and our plants, whether it's in the greenhouses for our own plants or in your yard. It's the same soil. But fill that pot up completely with Water's potting soil up to about, I don't know, an inch from the top. I want to leave room to be able to water that some water capacity. If you leave soil too low in the pot, it looks funky. It's like, what, did they run out of money? Did they not have enough money for enough soil to fill the pot up? They got this beautiful piece of art called a ceramic pot, and they couldn't fill it with soil. No, you want it to be close to the top, but then have enough room to add to water it. And so I'll do that. I don't put anything in the bottom of the pot. Soil right down to the bottom. The container should have a drainage hole in it. And so that drainage hole, I'll fill it with soil right down to the bottom. And then as that soil swells up, gets water, it swells up. It doesn't fall out the hole. It actually keeps soil from falling out of those drainage holes. When you do that, what that does is I'll put a saucer underneath that container and I'll water the plant until I start to see water seeping out of the bottom of the pot. I'll water it until that saucer is filled. And then what happens is, as summer hits and it becomes very, very warm, that water the plant will wick the water back uphill, anti-gravity back to the roots, as long as it's soil from the root of the plant down to the bottom of the pot. And that soil can touch the water. The plant it knows what to do. It just pulls it right back up. So any container that has a drainage hole and consistent soil from the root ball of the plant down to the saucer's edge will do that. So you can turn any plant into a self-watering pot. And I do this for all of my plants. I mean, I've got roses and hydrangeas and trees. I've got some bigger pots. I've got some big saucers that I put underneath there. And it takes the edge off. It makes it so much easier. My tomatoes aren't going to wilt as much. My zucchini just keeps going. Hydrangeas never think about wilting. They just go, I'm blooming because I'm happy. easy to turn any container into a self-watering container. Now, a big question I get, or mistake rookies make with new container gardening, is when you put a new container and you've got fresh soil. Let's say you just bought a new 14-inch, 20-inch, a bigger, beautiful glazed cobalt or oxblood red container. It fits your style. It looks beautiful. These should be pieces of art. And so you fill it up, you're going to plant it. Then you want to start watering your plants. How much water does it take to hydrate the plant and all that soil? I always think of it as a sponge. So if you take a sponge and put it into a 5-gallon bucket or a bowl, how much water will that sponge absorb? It's tremendous. It just always amazes me. And so I will water that soil. It's just like a sponge. Think of it as a sponge. It holds moisture for that plant around the root ball. And so it takes a tremendous amount of water. So if you've got a 5-gallon bucket filled with soil, and it's going to be sort of like filling a 5-gallon bucket with water. That soil should hold about that much moisture for a healthy soil, healthy plants. And so it takes way more than you think to initially get it hydrated. After that, the edge is off. So the soil it's absorbed all this moisture and it holds it there. And it releases it back to the plant or evaporates off after a bit. So think in those terms. I think it'll help you water those container gardens better, easier, more efficiently, just healthier for your plants in the long run. So think of your soil as a sponge or it's just a big old bucket. And how much water would it take to fill that bucket? That's how much water it needs. And you'll see the water trickling out the bottom eventually. Water's garden companion plants in May are purple robe locust, Vining achevia, Prescott sunshine geraniums, and easy elegant roses.
Just plant these roses in a sunny spot and enjoy.
We've married the beauty of long stem roses with the easy care of shrub roses for landscape color like no other plant in the backyard.
Choose fragrant reds, radiant pinks, corals, vivacious yellows, and stately whites.
Extremely fragrant and only found locally at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. For a more fruitful garden, increase success in the landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Mountain Gardener podcast. Subscribe through your favorite podcast streamer or visit watersgardencenter.com. Better yet, visit me directly right here at Waters Garden Center. Thanks for tuning in.